Thanks for joining me on Life and Surround. Today, at long last, we are talking about the 5.1 remix of Animals by Pink Floyd. The 2022 deluxe version of Animals by Pink Floyd, which includes the 2018 stereo and 5.1 remixes of the album by James Guthrie. If you get the super deluxe version or the Blu-ray version, you will be privy to the original 1977 mix in lossless high resolution via the Blu-ray. The Super Deluxe or the Blu-ray version, and then of course there is a standalone vinyl version. I believe that is only the 2018 remix, and then there's an SACD version, which is the 2018 remixes in SACD high resolution, and then also the 2018 stereo remix in standard CD. So you get 3 layers on a hybrid SACD, but in any case, it's all featuring the 2018 version of the album. So I'm really glad that the original mix came on this Blu-ray, and I'm going to primarily talk about the Blu-ray. The Super Deluxe isn't available for another month, and I went for the Blu-ray because this was delivered to me on release day for a little bit less than $20. And like I said, I get lossless, high resolution, in this case the 2018 stereo remix and the 5.1 remix, and also I presume it's a needle drop, but it's lossless stereo of the original 1977 mix. So quite a value in my opinion for $20. You get a booklet with some interesting artwork, but also some pretty hard to read lyrics. The whole red on black thing isn't the friendliest for my eyeballs. So fortunately, I had a copy of the 1977 US LP on hand, and I read along with these lyrics. Much easier. Alright, so this is quite a value. And so let's talk about whether the mix and the sonics are worth it. Musically, this album is just a juggernaut. And what you're going to get different musically out of any of these 2018 remixes, be it CD, SACD, LP, or the high resolution lossless version of the stereo on the Blu-ray, or the 2018 5.1 remix on either the Blu-ray or the Super Audio CD, you're going to get a much clearer representation of every part on this album. It really does feel like some haze and some muddiness has been lifted. And so one thing to point out, and this is kind of beginning to get into the sonics, but this doesn't have necessarily the sound of, say, this 77 US LP. All right, it has an updated sound. It has a slightly different sound. But what that means musically, like there's so much more articulation on so many parts musically here. Nick Mason gets a particular upgrade in just the exposure of really like basically everything he's playing, like all the little hi-hat chicks, and there's so much detail here. Richard Wright also benefits, and I would say he supremely benefits. His parts become of more interest, and in a way that can make this mix busier than I've ever been used to, and probably I imagine that many of you have been used to. Okay, so I would say that for me, that was the main challenging thing with sitting down with these 2018 remixes, was to get past that busyness, because I'm used to this album focusing my attention in certain ways, and your attention's going to be vied for by some different elements here, okay? All right, so sonically, this sounds amazing. I believe that Guthrie had access to the original multi-track tapes, and they would have been digitized into DSD. He mixes natively in DSD, and so if you want to get the most, direct, unaltered signal path, I guess, so to speak, go for the SACD, because that is also played back in DSD. Although many people, myself included, have their systems converted to PCM, so the Blu-ray's been converted to PCM. All right, but sonically, this sounds like someone had access to multi-track tapes in great condition, and they were, digitized exquisitely, probably at like a super high DSD rate, and this just sounds modern, and it sounds so detailed. It sounds so detailed. Acoustic guitars, drums, bass work. I'm hearing like slaps and stuff on the bass that I've never noticed before. David Gilmour gets pretty funky on Pigs, and without like some of that articulation of just those backbeats and those ghost notes and stuff, you really don't pick up on some of that until now. All right, so sonically, this gets full points for me. It sounds frankly amazing. At least on 2 different systems that I tried, a home theater system and then a full range 5.1 system. All right, and then as far as the mix goes, let's go and take a look at this mix, okay? In my opinion, this is James Guthrie's best Pink Floyd mix so far, between Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, and now Animals. This is his best.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
It makes the most effective use out of the surround channels to my ears. It makes very little use of the center, which does bother some people, but center channel is the hardest one to really integrate into a 5.1 system, and a lot of mixers avoid it. What you're mainly going to get here in the center is often some isolated bass guitar and a little bit of drums and some other rhythmic elements, so you can tell where you're at in the song. But if you ever want to focus in on the bass for this album, a good way to do that would be to isolate your center for this 5.1 mix. The album starts and ends in pure stereo, even if you're listening to the 5.1 mix. I believe this was an intentional artistic choice to really drive home the difference between the bookends that open and close this album and the 3 main tracks in the heart of the album. You go from stereo, and then as soon as Dogs comes on, your 5.1 system is just going to leap into action. It starts out with those lush acoustics entering full rear. They're joined by Richard Wright's keys, and then the acoustics migrate their way to the front of the room, leaving the keys isolated. Later in Dogs, you get this cackling laugh, probably from Roger, that starts front and pans around you to the rears via the right side of the room. Those harmonic twin guitar lines that are just like so iconic. Starts out a twin guitar harmony. One of them is behind you, one of them is in front of you, and that passage ends up with as many as 4 guitar parts that I can hear. There are really so many surround highlights of this album that, I stopped noting them down. So I'm glad after the long wait, again, this remix was announced several years ago. We finally have Animals in 5.1. I'm delighted with it. Over on quadrophonic.com, it has received the most enthusiastic response of any surround album in my recent memory. It has amassed a very impressive percentage of very high votes so far, and I know that my own vote will be very high. So let's talk about where this album would land as an overall rating for a surround album for me. Sonics, I'm giving it full points. Mix, I am giving it full points. Guthrie does tend to play things a little safe, and even at his most adventurous here, his mixes are a tad front-centric. Again, I feel that his mix is completely effective in its use of the surrounds to engage you and to entertain and to move things around and to bring clarity to parts. But there are mixing engineers who are able to just like push that line a little further. But I think mixing engineers are allowed different styles like any other art form. They are engineers, but this blends into artistry as well. Uh, and for me, the bottom line is whether I enjoy a musical experience, and in this case, a surround musical experience. And I simply do. This mix is effective for this material, and this is the best I've ever heard Animals. This is the toughest and the most muscly that I have ever heard Pink Floyd. This Blu-ray, at least, I can't vouch for the LP yet, man, it packs a punch. It has a well-defined, very robust bottom end. On my systems, the bass never gets in the way, but it is the most powerful that I have ever heard Pink Floyd rhythm section, and I think it really is from just like however Guthrie was able to coax that much in the way of balls just from this bottom end. It really is so satisfying. That and just the brilliant sonics all the way through mid and high ranges, suitable mix, and just killer Pink Floyd material. As I grow like older and more cynical, Animals over the years has become one of my favorite Pink Floyd albums. I have another that just touches the heartstrings in just the right way. But from like their uber, super duper classic, line of run of albums, I would say Animals is it for me. And that's why I'm going to see Roger Waters tomorrow. The themes and the lyrics of Animals couldn't be any more relevant than they are today. And yeah, I'm just excited about this. So like one of my favorite Pink Floyd albums has received an exquisite remix, a different way to experience it. And you still have the original mixes or even like the later like 2009-ish remasters if that's your cup of tea. But there is a new way to experience Animals on offer here. 2018 remixes, stereo and 5.1. Hey, if you like what I do, please give a thumbs up, subscribe, ring the notification bell if you haven't already. It helps this channel get distributed out to more people. And I'm just trying to spread the love and the joy of music with others, and you can help that. Leave your comments below. Let everyone know what you think about these 2018 remixes and the various sets that are on offer here. And I appreciate interacting with you in the comments. And until next time, live life in surround.